Now that you have a fundamental overview of the compressor package and the inspection procedures, it's time to move into operations. This is the fourth section of a 5-section module on reciprocating compressor operation. In this section, we will show you startup and shutdown procedures for a typical compressor package. Starting a compressor package involves loading the compressor and starting the prime mover. A startup can be done by one operator, though in some locations the task may be safer and more efficient with two. Startup begins by determining the cause of compressor shutdown. Logically, the first place to check is the indicators to see if some malfunction has occurred. If so, the condition must be corrected before continuing. If, however, the shutdown was due to routine maintenance or an otherwise normal shutdown, you may continue with the startup procedure. The compressor loading sequence is determined by the presence or absence of a check valve. The check valve prevents discharge gas from backing up into the cylinder. If there are interstage suction and discharge valves, each discharge line should be examined for a check valve. On compressors without interstage valves, look at the main discharge line for a check valve. The actual startup procedures depend on the type of prime mover and whether each stage has separate suction and discharge valves. Now, for our demonstration, we'll be starting up and shutting down a compressor package which has a 4-cycle internal combustion engine, multi-stage compression, a single suction line valve, a single discharge line valve, and a check valve in the discharge line. Now, your local compressor package may be different, so be sure to go over procedures for your facility before taking any action. First, as we mentioned earlier, determine the cause of the compressor shutdown. In this case, we will say it was a normal shutdown. If it was not, it would be your responsibility to determine the problem and get it repaired. Next, be sure the suction valve is closed. Then check to be sure the vent valves are open. Now confirm that the bypass valve is open. Slowly open the main discharge valve. This will seat the check valve. Do a complete walk around of the unit to be sure the area is clear of all personnel. Now activate all shutdowns on the control panel and open the air starting valve. Then partially open the manual fuel valve. This will start the engine as the fuel is ignited by the spark plugs. If the engine does not catch within 5 seconds, repeat the cycle. When the engine does fire, close the air starting valve. Now idle the engine to check the coolant and lubricant circulation. The compressor is now ready for gas loading. First, close the vent valves. Then confirm that the bypass and discharge valves are still open. Now, open the suction valve. Doing this allows the same gas to be continuously cycled through all the stages without compressing it up to sales pressure. Once you close the bypass valve, which is the next step, the gas will be compressed up to discharge pressure and leave the system through the discharge line. Now adjust RPMs to the desired level and place the engine back in automatic speed control. Verify that all interstage and discharge pressures are normal. Then take a final walk around the unit to ensure that there are no gas leaks, unusual noises, or abnormal vibration. Now, in order to shut down this type of package, this is the recommended sequence. First, put the engine in manual operation. Then reduce the engine RPMs. Slowly open the bypass valve. Next, close the suction valve. Check to be sure coolant and lube oil are circulating. Also make sure there is engine jacket water circulation, and note unusual noises or vibration. Now push the stop switch on the control panel. Your next step is to vent the suction line. Now close the discharge valve and vent the discharge line. Finally, tag all other valves that have been moved from their normal operating position.